Get ready to strap in. It's going to be a heck of a ride. It's like drinking from a fire hose. Never a dull moment, but yes, you'll hear the stories you won't hear anywhere else, and we appreciate you being here with us for them today. I'm Justin Barclay. Yeah, I call it the crap plan because I think they left an R out. Here in Grand Rapids, they have a climate action plan that they give the, the CAAP is how they give the description of it. But I think it's, they're full of it. And in this plan particularly they are. But why I want to dig into it to give a fuller picture of why. At a time like we thought, we were all done with all of this nonsense. Why are we still having to deal with it? Why is it still something that continues to come up on the screen? And particularly in places, liberal, left-leaning cities, Democrat-run cities like Grand Rapids.
How dare you?
The Green New Scheme is still alive and well, and I thought it had all but been vanquished, so to speak. Steve Goreham is here with us right now to discuss this story and really kind of dig into the weeds on it all. Steve, I appreciate you taking the time. You're always like the voice of truth, logic, and common sense, particularly when it comes to these stories on climate and really what they've been doing for so long. Steve is the executive director of the Climate Science Coalition of America, the author of 4 books on energy, climate change, and sustainable development with over 100,000 copies in print. The latest book from Steve is Green Breakdown, The Coming Renewable Energy Failure. So let's dive in, Steve. I just saw this, and you can imagine my surprise that this is still a thing they're pushing, number one. And then when you dig into it, how bad it really is.
Hey, Justin, great to join you. Yeah, earlier this week, the Grand Rapids City Commission approved top 20 priorities for the city's climate and adaptation plan. And when you read through this, there's a fair amount of good things in there. I think they're putting in bike paths and some other things, but they seem to be still committed to reduce cities' quote greenhouse gas emissions 63% by 2030, 100% by 2050. Just kind of a crazy thing. The bottom line is that this is not going to have any measurable effect on the climate or on global temperatures, but it is probably going to raise energy prices for people in Grand Rapids to the extent that it is pursued.
That's the thing that I think is probably the toughest pill to swallow right now for folks as they look at this. Our energy prices are through the roof right now. And I know we're not the only ones. And by the way, it's because we've seen some of our energy providers here make that move to, wind, solar, and unicorn farts, as I like to call it. They've tried all these alternatives. Meanwhile, shutting down coal plants, and I don't know if you're getting it where you are in Chicago, but we don't get a peep or hear a peep. We know the Attorney General here has been trying to shut down one of our coal plants in our backyard for the longest time, and she still is at that, yet nothing about the Canadian wildfire smoke that's pouring across our border and in our skies, ruining our summers for the last 2-3 summers now. I don't know if you're getting any of that where you are, but it's a mess here.
Yeah, we are. The forest fires actually in many places now, the fires are much bigger in terms of particulates than all of the vehicles and everything else. And that is the case in California, for example. And I think it's the case this summer. So, we have regulations all over that say you shouldn't be using gas leaf blowers or lawn mowers because of particulates, but the forest fires tend to be much bigger factors, not to mention if people are smoking or using cannabis. I mean, that is far beyond anything that a power plant is putting out.
So let's dig into, as you mentioned, there's some good things in this and some bad things, but the biggest piece is it is going to cost us more money. It's going to be taxpayer dollars that are going to be spent to do things that really aren't going to have much of an impact at all. And at the end of the day, what they will do is impact our energy prices. And as you said, I've been taking a look at this. We've got a lot of people that are very interested. I'm just watching from my personal aspect. My bills seem to be going up and up and up. And one of the things that I always wonder about is in a place like Michigan, we got all this manufacturing pouring back into the country right now, particularly investment coming in. President has been very big on this, and Michigan is, the state to put the world on wheels. We're so proud of that fact, but it's so hard because our state government has made it such a governor, particularly, and Democrats in Lansing made it so hard for folks to do business here. The state of our roads is one thing. The whole other piece of this is the cost of energy. So it's one thing when my bill's high, but it's a whole nother thing when people are looking whether or not they're going to invest and come into the state of Michigan, whether their bills are going to be high or not. And this is before everybody plugs their Tesla in like they'd all like them to. And let's be real, what's really going to be driving these prices up is data centers and AI sucking the juice every moment. That's just going to be a reality.
Yeah, it is. So prices in Michigan are the highest in the Midwest right now. According to the U.S. Department of Energy in 2024, the average residential electricity price in Michigan was 19.29 cents per kilowatt hour, a little over 19 cents per kilowatt hour. That's higher than Ohio and Indiana and Illinois and Wisconsin. And even beyond that, another thing that's happening is the rise in electricity prices in Michigan is faster than most other states. Since 2008, over the last 16 years, I've been tracking this for a while. Again, this is data from the U.S. Department of Energy. The national average electricity price has gone up 33% in those 16 years, but Michigan is up about 58% over that period of time. Indiana up about 60%, but everybody else in the Midwest is down about 30, about the national average. So it is going up. The other thing is, you have the Michigan Healthy Climate Plan, which calls for trying to go to 60% renewables by 2030, 100% by 2050, very similar to what Grand Rapids is trying to do. In 2024, you actually had a pretty good mix. You had natural gas, 47% of the electricity, nuclear, 22%, coal, 21.6%, wind was only about 8.2%, and solar was just not even around.
Yeah.
But the idea is to get rid of all that natural gas and coal. That's almost 70% of your electricity, and try and replace it with wind and solar. That is still the state's current plan, and that's just really poor policy. It's going to be very expensive.
Steve, what's the answer? I have a lot of people talk about some of the things that we've had, coal and natural gas, and but every now and then I hear people talk about nuclear. Is that still in the conversation?
Yeah, I think it is. As you know, we have this artificial intelligence revolution going on. And so there's a lot of things going on around the country. And one of these is restarting nuclear plants. And one of those is in Michigan, the Palisades plant that closed about 3 years ago. They are looking to restart that. Pennsylvania is restarting one of the 3 Mile Island plants, not the one that had the accident. The Diablo Canyon plant in California has been extended. And now Iowa is talking about restarting a plant in eastern Iowa, restarting a nuclear plant. So there is a bunch going on. The other thing that's happening with nuclear is we have a bunch of these small modular plants, which are, there are about 50 companies around the world that are working on small modular nuclear plants. And these are various types. Some of them are molten salt reactors, which don't produce waste and can't melt down. There's a bunch of others. And Chris Wright, the energy secretary, is all in for these nuclear plants. So they're really promoting this. They're trying to get a couple of them built within the next 2 years at an accelerated schedule. Nuclear, though, still has cost problems in a lot of ways. If you can compare it to natural gas, a nuclear plant takes 5 or 10 years to build, at least a big one. And a natural gas plant you can build in 2 years. and the price of natural gas is about a plant is about a quarter or a fifth of the nuclear plants. So we really need cost reductions. Hopefully, these new modular reactors will provide that and make nuclear a bigger source of power again.
I have a conversation about a year or two back, I guess probably a couple of years ago, with a guy who we have some co-ops here in Michigan, one of the energy co-ops, and so he sits on the board. He's one of the folks who is just a resident and had this conversation about these things particularly, and that's when I first heard about the modular nuclear. He was very hot on them. He said, these things are the future if they can get them up and running. And we've even heard stories, to your point, about people like Meta and Google and some of these companies that Trump's trying to take some of the regulations off, I guess, to allow them to build their own power plants, nuclear, whatever they might be, so that they can power these data centers and AI.
Yeah, I spoke to a plastic pipe group in the last year or two, and the guy said, well, if we ship plastic pipe to a regular factory, it takes about 2 pages of paperwork. If we ship it to a nuclear plant, it takes about an inch of paperwork. So we really have a big problem with regulations, and the Trump administration, I think, is going to be trying to cut those down to speed these up. But the big thing that's going on now, one of the things the state of Michigan with the climate plan, and also Grand Rapids, there really is no evidence that they're going to have a slightest effect on temperatures, even if they go to 100% zero emissions. Michigan itself is much less than 1/100th of global emissions. And we have, first across the globe, we have about 6,500 coal-fired power plants that are operating and another 1,000 that are in planning or construction. Coal is actually the biggest source of electricity around the world. It provides about 35% of the world electricity. But then even in the US, we have the artificial intelligence revolution going on. And this is just astonishing. People don't realize what's happening. Now, the green movement would like wind and solar to drive this, but it takes too long to get transmission. That's the big problem. And when you put up wind and solar, you have to cover wide areas across the landscape or up on ridges far away, and you got to build all this transmission, and it just takes you way too long. So, for example, what Elon Musk's Tesla company did, they built a supercomputer next to Memphis called the Colossus, I believe, XAI. And they did it in 6 months. They put in over 200,000 graphics processing units, which are the things that drive AI. They did it in 6 months. They didn't even have permits. But Tesla is a solar and battery company, but they put in 35 gas turbines because it takes too long to do solar. And now they have the permits, but they were being challenged for a while. So these things are going on across the country. Let me give you another huge example. Texas is planning more than 100 gas-fired power plants to drive AI. It's 108 new plants and 17 expansions. And those are going to be up in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. And Texas is the biggest wind state in the country. It has over 15,000 wind turbines. But when all these gas plants are built, these 100 gas plants, they're going to provide 3 times as much electricity as all the wind turbines in Texas. So that's what's really happening around the country. We have nuclear plants restarting, and then a lot of gas plants are being built.
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is, number one, from a national security standpoint, and just an innovation standpoint, for the United States to really continue to be the leader of the free world, we're going to have to be at the forefront of this technology. And this technology requires massive amounts of energy, Steve, is what you're pointing out. So we've really got to we've got to get rid of a lot of these things that are in the way, the red tape. And China's putting new coal plants on every day. We hear more and more. So that's why I think when you look at this, stories like this action plan out at Grand Rapids, I call it the crap plan, but the climate action and adaptation plan, It's even if you think, even if you well, they're well intended. Even if you think about that, the outcome is so horrific. It's so bad in so many different ways. It's up.
China.
Yeah, China. Not just on the world stage, what it's going to do to us, but I know you've written about this. This goes far back. You've written about what these plans actually. I don't want to say accomplish because that's not the right word for it, but that green breakdown. What ends up happening because of it?
Yeah, I was actually on the phone yesterday in a board meeting with the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, and I basically pointed out to them that what you do here isn't going to have any effect. Like in Texas, they're building 100 gas plants, so going to wind and solar here is not going to have any real effect. But they basically said, well, it's California law. We have to do it. And they realize it's not going to affect global emissions in any way. And that's sort of the situation in Michigan. What Michigan does with all this green stuff, it may get them some badges. They may be able to comply with state law, but it's not going to have any measurable effect on the environment. But it is going to, as we say, raise prices when you put in the wind and solar.
We've got a guy in the chat right now watching with us a little often. You can actually get in the behind-the-scenes live stream on the chat and Locals VIP. Just $7 a month to join. You can join the annual. I'll send you a copy of my book, Good News, Hope and Encouragement for Trying Times. Send it, sign it, and also give you a month free if you sign up for the annual plan. But you get to ask questions or throw comments in, like Critter, who's talking about he's a nuclear employee, and he said, I often advocate for its use. The regulatory issues are the real issues that you were just talking about, to your point there, Steve. He says, nuclear creates the greatest bang for your buck in the long run. Get rid of some of the regulation and increase its benefits, 10x, he said. So I think it is. I'm not going to say one thing or the other, but I think maybe that 30,000-foot viewpoint is that getting rid of some of these regulatory issues in all of these different areas to get a level playing field so that we can continue to not just be a superpower, but make sure that we're at the forefront. Because, boy, I'll tell you what, whoever masters this AI stuff is going to end up running the world.
Yeah, it's a huge thing, and Trump has come out for it. They actually had a energy summit in Pennsylvania a couple of weeks ago. And Trump went there, and it was called the Energy Innovation Summit. Pennsylvania is going to put in more than $90 billion in AI data centers. Most of those are going to be powered by gas, but the Westinghouse Electric is also building multiple nuclear plants in the state to try and do that. Here's another one. Meta, Facebook, is claiming to build the largest data center in the Western Hemisphere. It's going to be in Richland Parish in Northeast Louisiana. They've already started construction north of New Orleans. And when this is done, it's expected to use more electricity, twice as much electricity as the city of New Orleans, if you can imagine. So these are really, really big things. By the way, a company called Entergy Louisiana is building 3 large gas-fired power plants on the Meta site at a cost of more than $3 billion. So this is what is happening. And, the board in Grand Rapids thinks they're going to make a difference, and they really aren't. It's kind of old thing. The combination of Mr. Trump cutting back subsidies for wind and solar and EVs, and then this AI revolution are just moving us in a different direction.
Now, I will say in the book, and in fact, Steve's written, like I said, a number of books, but in that Green Breakdown book, you talk about, some really dark things in the name of, trying to, we always hear, compassion or whatnot, and we completely forget about, the reality of the consequences. There's no compassion for, are people going to be able to eat? Are they going to starve? Are they going to freeze to death or burn up, depending upon what day it is, because of the blackouts that are possible in these situations, whether it be in the wintertime or in the summertime when we have, seasons. We're not prepared for some of these things that we used to be. You got some of the most vulnerable people that are at the most risk. Yeah,
we had a blackout in Texas. We had it in California. In Texas in February of 2021, power was off for 72 hours, 3 full days to 4.5 million people. And more than 200 people died in that incident from the power blackout. New Jersey has shut down all their coal plants and their natural gas and nuclear plants now. They've got some natural gas, but they shut down coal and nuclear. And now they're really short of power. They're trying to import it from everybody else. And Trump just shut off the offshore wind. So I talk about this a lot in Green Breakdown, the complete story from power plants, home appliances, electric vehicles, heavy industry, heavy transportation, and how we're going to get back to sensible energy. We're not going to pursue this green stuff. By the way, the book is a lot of fun. It's got 150 color sidebars, which are real headlines about the climate and energy. And here's one of them. This was in 2019. Swedish scientist advocates eating humans to combat climate change.
Oh boy.
And he actually gives presentations. And then at the end of this presentation, according to the article, he was asking the audience who would be willing to try human flesh. But, there's just a whole bunch of crazy stuff. The world is following this goofy path, but it is changing now. We have this Green Breakdown is underway, and I recommend people get the book. They can get it at my website, stevegoreham.com. If they buy one, I'll send them a signed copy or two. And then they're on Amazon ebooks as well.
Steve, I love that people are waking up. And to your point, get the book, not just so you can read it and be informed of yourself, but also share it with other people. But there is a return to common sense happening, at least in the forefront, like I think in the sort of zeitgeist. I really think that people have always had these tendencies. I just think that for some reason the media has been so loud, and the drumbeat from all the fake news, the propaganda against, and it's not just this issue. There's so many others. But people are waking up. That's why I was so surprised the other day when I saw this story pop up. We had a guy call about this. He said, they're about ready to meet on this. In fact, it's happening today. And I said, I can't believe we're still doing this. These people ought to be run out on a rail, tarred and feathered, that they would even consider this.
Well, again, the key thing ought to be reduce real pollution, which are particulates and sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide, ozone, lead. And we've done a great job in the United States. According to EPA data, since 1980, those harmful pollutants are down more than 80% in our air. I remember when I was a child driving past Gary, Indiana steel mills, and we literally had our windshield coated. We had to pull over on the side of the road and wipe off the windshield from what was in the air. Mm-hmm. But we don't have that anymore. But what we should be doing is concentrating on real pollution, air and water pollution, some plastic in the oceans, some discharges across the world into fresh water, not carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide should not even be called a pollutant. And by the way, Lee Zeldin, the EPA administrator, is trying to roll back the endangerment finding of 2009, which is actually what the source of calling CO2 a pollutant.
All of this, folks, you're making sense of some of the most senseless, right, is our goal when we have these conversations. Steve, one of the best at doing just that. By the way, you can get all of the breakdown, literally for the breakdown, in the book, Green Breakdown, The Coming Renewable Energy Failure. And I would say, get one or two and then pass them around to folks so that obviously they'll have a chance to know the truth on this stuff too. But always a pleasure. Steve is a regular, comes on this program quite often and tries to break it all down for us, and we always appreciate that, Steve. Thank you for all that you do. I guess one last piece. What can we do as we try to wake people up to this and put the adults back in charge in the room?
Well, I think people should push back. Particularly local folks who may not want wind or solar, and they ought to be pushing back against government. The question is, why do you want to raise our energy prices? Let's get back to a sensible energy policy, reliable energy policy. If people want to buy electric cars, that's great. By the way, again, the Trump administration has eliminated all of the waivers to states, so all of these EV mandates are disappearing as well.
Yeah.
But let's get back to choice for consumers and get away from the forced work of government.
Steve Goreham, the author, and of course the book is out everywhere. Where can folks grab it again, Steve? Your website and what's the best way to do it?
SteveGoreham.com, GOREHAM.com. I'll send them signed copies, and they're on Amazon. They're ebooks as well, and wherever books are sold.
Fantastic. Thank you for all you do, Steve. We really appreciate you.
Okay. Till the next time, Justin.
You got it. God bless, folks. We'll continue and more of the stories just like this right here, making sense of it all. More truth, logic, and common sense. God bless.